On July 20, 2026, central New Delhi ground to a complete halt. Tens of thousands of angry people surged through the streets, tearing down metal barricades and overwhelming police lines. This was not a terror threat or a traditional political rally. The sheer volume of people paralyzed the city's infrastructure. Riot police deployed lathi charges to push back the crowds, while stranded commuters, trapped by locked transit gates, resorted to physically climbing over public infrastructure just to escape the crush. The organization leading this citywide shutdown had an unlikely name. They called themselves the Cockroach Janta Party. A group named after a household pest successfully organized a kinetic street occupation that forced the Indian capital into lockdown. It represents a bizarre evolution in modern civil resistance, one that began not on the streets, but as a sarcastic joke. In May 2026, during a Supreme Court hearing, the Chief Justice of India expressed intense frustration with internet commentators and social media activists. He compared them to cockroaches and parasites invading the administrative system. Digital strategist Abhijit Dipke weaponized the insult. He launched a satirical online movement under the cockroach banner, using the Chief Justice's own words to mock the perceived arrogance of the legal establishment. Sarcastic internet memes usually fade within days, but this one detonated because it landed directly on a demographic of young people who were already reeling from a series of catastrophic back-to-back failures in the state's educational infrastructure. The first trigger was the NEET UG medical entrance exam. 2.27 million students were competing for a fraction of that in seats, only to discover that the test papers had been leaked and sold well before the exam date. The leak was driven by a massive internal security breach. A chemistry professor exploited his role as an official exam translator to gain access to the physical test papers before they were even distributed. Criminal networks instantly monetized the breach. The leaked questions sold for up to 15 lakh rupees and spread through WhatsApp networks, reaching thousands within hours. The human cost was immediate. The resulting exam cancellation and academic pressure were linked to over 20 student suicides. In a state of total panic, the government implemented extreme measures to contain the fallout. They issued a nationwide block on the Telegram app and even deployed Indian Air Force jets to transport the retest papers to exam centers. Watching military aircraft deliver a multiple-choice test signaled that the educational system was no longer functional on its own. For the youth, this militarized response was proof that their futures were being handled by a thoroughly compromised system. A second crisis hit almost simultaneously. The CBSE had just rolled out its on-screen marking system, a new digital portal intended to evaluate grade 12 board exams more efficiently. Nationwide panic ensued when the national pass percentage dropped. Students began flagging blurred digital scans, missing pages, and even proofs that their answer sheets were being swapped with those of other students. A 19-year-old ethical hacker named Nisarga Adhikari bypassed official channels and began investigating the portal's backend code to see what was going wrong. Adhikari's discovery was staggering. The Amazon Web Services servers housing the scanned exam papers were completely exposed to the public, requiring no security credentials to access millions of private student files. Student investigators then linked the government's tech contractor, Coamt Edutech, to a 2019 software failure in Telangana. That prior disaster had resulted in the incorrect failure of over 3 lakh students and 21 suicides. The revelation that teenagers could expose deadly negligence that government auditors had missed shattered the state's credibility. The Cockroach Janta Party was no longer a digital joke. It had a physical base at Jantar Mantar. Abhijit Dipke returned to India to lead the movement's transition from online memes to a permanent physical occupation. The goal was to force the union government into a direct confrontation. The movement reached a turning point when veteran Ladakhi activist Sonam Wangchuk arrived at Jantar Mantar to join the young protesters. Wangchuk immediately initiated an indefinite hunger strike, demanding structural accountability for the examination failures. Pairing Wangchuk's long-standing moral authority with a viral youth revolt changed the dynamics. The government could no longer dismiss the occupation as a fringe group of internet trolls once a national figure's life was visibly on the line. On July 18th, the state escalated the conflict. Police leadership forcefully removed Wangchuk from the protest site and placed him under detention at Safdarjung Hospital. The CJP responded by calling for the Chalo Sansad March. Supporters were told to march directly on the Parliament House to demand the education minister's resignation. The resulting clash paralyzed the capital. The metro system was shut down, commuters were stranded in the streets, and several members of parliament were detained while attempting to walk with the youth marchers. Facing an uncontrollable shutdown, the government eventually capitulated. Union Health Minister J.P. Mata was sent as an official emissary to meet with the CJP leaders and negotiate an end to the sit-in. The July crisis demonstrated that modern state power struggles to contain a specific kind of mobilization. By merging the speed of digital transparency with the physical resolve of a hunger strike, a satirical movement was able to force a seat at the highest levels of government.